Today we're talking with Stacey Strausberg, who is with Rubrik. Stacey, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. And can you describe your role today, what you do, and what the company is about?
Absolutely. Today I get to work for an amazing company called Rubrik, and our job in the world is to keep data secure. So what I get to do is work with customers day in and day out. And instead of designing based on if a fire happens or if an earthquake happens, I have been able to shift into a security mode. And today our job is to make sure when a customer is hit with ransom, they get their data back.
That's awesome. So how did you decide on this role?
With Rubrik or in general?
In general.
In general. I think the role decided on me. People always ask me, why did I get into IT? And today I can say, I think it's like a wand. It found me in the sense that I was in the right place at the right time in the early 90s. And I had an amazing mentor. She was a VP at the university I worked for. And she said to me, you're going to get certified and you're going to go into IT. And I'm here.
You know, it's funny because my path, I've said before, is very similar to that. You know, I kind of fell into it. I tell everyone the story that the reason why I, ended up in IT was because I was a leasing assistant for a company, and I knew how to reboot the Novell server, and that's how I kind of made my way into IT.
My first certification was Novell 3.1, and it was all about the fact that I knew how to use a PC, and I was going around and fixing everybody's. And it's important to say I had an amazing woman in my life who trusted me more than I could trust myself, who said to me, you're going to do this and I'm going to be there, but I'm going to force you to figure it out and just be there and not do it for you. And she did, and it's probably been the best foundation I ever had in my career.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, when you have those female examples, I had the same thing, same experience, so I was definitely lucky with that. But, when you have those examples, it really does help you to kind of grow and really want to do also what you're doing, which is neat. So what matters to you most about your role today?
Helping, assisting, and making things better. I am in the sales side of this, so you'd always say, well, it's all about numbers. But numbers come when I do the right thing. And so for me, I'd like to say I always listen to the customer, but sometimes my ears don't always listen like they should. They're not as active as they can be, but I try to do my best. And I think the best thing I can do is make sure I stay on target and really listen and do the best I can.
Yeah, I think the art of listening, I've learned over the last 2 years, is very, very important. As we listen, my mom used to say that there's a difference between listening and hearing. She's like, there's a big difference between that. You'll listen to someone and what they're saying, but when you hear it, you definitely digest it in a different way than you would, if you just were listening to what was said. So it's an interesting dynamic. I completely understand that. So every role has its challenges, but what do you enjoy most about what you do today?
I love to see when we have a problem that we start and we solve it at the end. That's probably, let it be that it's in a sales side that we've started and talking to a customer what their pains are, and then we solve those at the end. Or even when I've got customers, and again, I deal in this ransom world, it's so crazy right now. So knowing that I can be there and we can be there as a company to support as things happen. That's really the most important thing for me to be. How can I help others?
It really is a time, where we're kind of at war. I mean, when you think about kind of this cybersecurity right now, we are really trying to protect everything that we possibly can. So, I think that the data and the data recovery is just something that most companies, kind of think that if they have, a antivirus, in front of them, or they have some sort of fielding in front of them, that's really not the one and only. That is not what happens. It's about so much more than that.
And always wanting to make sure when I work with my customer base or anybody, is I always want to build that relationship with them, that when something does happen and it's Friday night at 11 o'clock or Saturday in the middle of the afternoon during family time, that they know they can call me. That's the kind of relationships I want with my customers and the people around me, let it be a customer or my business associates or just anybody around me. That's just who I am.
You're putting the relationship first, you know what I mean, which is really kind of, I've found, you know, in my career, especially, you know, in leadership positions, that when you partner with companies that put the relationship first, it's truly a map for success, in my opinion. You know, I've had big companies that we've had that relationship with. I've had small companies that we have that relationship with, and all of those companies end up, for me, being those partners that I feel, you know, proud to actually have had in our environment, or worked with, you know, on projects, or, you know, if you get talent even that comes in and augments, you know, your staff. There's such a dynamic that comes from that. So I really do enjoy that part of my role. And obviously, you know, Rubrik has been one of those in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest joy I get is when a customer can call me and say, thank you. Thanks for saving us. That it's not it's not that they called me and I did something, it's that I was able to change it for them. And that's what's important to me.
Right. You're taking away someone's stress, right? You're taking away something that, you know, really, as a leader or as someone that's running systems, you're helping them to make sure that, you know, they're leaving the office without the worry.
And I think one of the things that I love about being a female, there are a few things that I can probably get away with, a little more fun things. And I have had situations that have been where customers in a SAT issue, and I've taken the word frustration and I put a magic wand in the look of it, and I say, that's my job. I'm going to put and fix that for you.
That's a great attitude. Absolutely.
The frustration killer.
Exactly. So in your career, obviously every job has its challenges. We all know this, but what obstacles have you overcome in your career?
Being a girl, straight up. There's no question about it. Overlooked. I've been shushed in meetings like you shush a child. I've answered the question, leaned in on that, let's say, and had people look at my male colleagues to get the approval. I think those are the hardest pieces. I was one of those people that I started at a company and didn't even do a salary check. I needed a job at the time, only to find out that I was at least 50% underpaid. Mm-hmm. So those are things that I've challenged with. But I will say, on that pay one, for instance, I had a male boss look at that and went and fought for me. So advocates are out there, but yeah, there's been a lot of hard stumbling blocks that way. And then the last one I'll say is IT and the craziness of IT sales. Men cannot get away with the same things that they did 10 years ago. There were things that just were uncomfortable for women. I stood up for where it was appropriate, but we did allow things to keep going on.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, when you think about kind of your journey and, you know, in those moments where you're shushed, you know, I think back on those because obviously I've had similar experiences at sometimes. I've also had the opposite where it's been very vocal to the point where it's, you know, screaming and losing your composure in meetings. Not me, someone else, you know, but it's one of those things where, you know, those moments stick with you because there's one of those moments where you think to yourself, why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I, you know, why did I take that? And it's hard to move past that, but I think you're right. Like now we do see improvement. We do see, you know, where this is not tolerated anymore. And I think that is critical, you know, to the success of organizations and quite frankly, critical to the next generation of women that will follow in our shoes that say, you know, we don't want to set this path for them without setting the path of you stand up for yourself.
And that's it. And that's one thing I really want to always, when I'm mentoring some of the ladies that I get the joy and honor to do, it's making sure and saying you get to stand up for what you believe in. it's okay. If your fear is that you're going to lose your job, there are other jobs out there, but stand up for what you believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a little bit of a generational thing, because I do see, a lot of the younger women are definitely standing up for themselves much more than I did. So I think that it's a tremendous improvement that they feel a little bit more valued, and they also feel that that this is their opportunity to kind of make their own mark too as well.
Yep. And if we can continue to help those girls out, then we're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. So do you feel as if your career, if it was in a different industry, where you weren't in tech, would be different, what you're doing?
I'm not sure how to answer that, because I think that it depends. If I was a nurse, then we still see gender bias on the opposite side. And obviously masculine nurses are phenomenal, just like female. So I think we see these issues in pretty much any career, just sometimes it may be the opposite.
It's a good point. And I think we do see it in tech. I know I see it in healthcare. I know I see it in life sciences at times too as well. But it is one of those things where we think about, has it improved? And I think, yeah, we do. We see improvement, and we see, some things there. Not that it should be considered a closed case, because that's not the case. But this is definitely a road that we hopefully will continue to improve this path for younger girls.
Especially on the technical side. I see, we've done really well with getting women into the non-technical roles in tech, but we still struggle. I can remember going to conferences in the 90s in Vegas, Comdex, and some of the ones that don't even exist anymore. And the laugh was, we always could go to the ladies' room. There was no line, and there was long lines. It was like the opposite of a traditional concert that I used to go to. And today I was just at a at a conference recently. And you know what? It was the same thing. And that just makes me go, what can we do differently? How can we get more ladies into the technical side of the technical side of the technology companies?
Right. It's funny, you're right. It's more that those G&A functions or sales and marketing. It's not, so much the programming and development, if you will, of products and support even, of products, things like that. I have an opportunity where I am right now. I have a wonderful young lady who is really coming up in cybersecurity, and it's been her passion, and she's really working towards it, and she's in with all of the different security professionals that she's working with, and actually really forging ahead, which is nice to see her take that active, technical capability, you know what I mean, and actually start, really enjoying it. It's a nice thing. So
I hope that in 10, 15 years from now, when you're interviewing these ladies who are more seasoned within their careers, you ask these questions and they look at you like it doesn't make sense why you're asking that question, that it's just not an issue anymore.
Right. I think we all hope for the day where somebody looks at it and says, I don't understand that. I've never experienced that. So I think that's the big, amen we're going to have at that point, So if you had to look back and give your younger self some advice, what would that be?
Stand up for yourself more. Don't allow things to fester to the point where you're ready to walk away instead of hitting it face on. And trust yourself, and not have to look for others for the reinforcement. I think those would be the biggest things, is trust yourself and go for it, that you don't have to be limitless.
That is wonderful advice. And I think that that's great. Trusting yourself is one of those things where even, as we grow older, we always, have that kind of, whisper in our ear all the time. Am I right? Am I overreacting? Where am I on this? What do they think of me? That kind of thing. And I think that when you trust yourself and your gut enough, everything else will fall into place.
Exactly. And that's my thinking is, I don't think it ever hindered me, but I think it would have made things a little easier in a emotional sense.
Right, right. So if you had advice for younger girls, what would that be?
Don't let anything limit you. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Um, I always jokingly talk about in the tech world, for the techies, there's almost like an extra chromosome, the techie gene. And if you don't have the techie gene, some people do, some people don't. And I've done some teaching and been able to see that. And I always say, you can figure this thing out. Just go for it. If the idea of you'd rather do this on a Friday night than go on a date because it's exciting to you, go for it. Enjoy it. Just lean into it, and trust that there's a path. You don't have to have a destination.
That's awesome. That's great advice, because I think that they get, I know we all get stuck at that. Like, when am I going to get to the destination? And we say throughout this series all the time is, it's not about, the destination or, the point you started. It's about what's in between. It's the journey that matters. And as long as you do stuff and you take away from it, something that's really, something you can look back on and say, I'm proud of what I did, and I'm proud of who I am because of what I did. And I think that that's something that, younger girls, it's always, I think we think it's a project plan, and it's not. It's truly a full, enjoyed destination is going to be, kind of the continued growth as always, it will continue to be that way. So.
And I think that if I'm always pushing towards getting a destination, I'm missing the things that are around me. And back to that mentor that I mentioned at the beginning of our interview, when she asked me to create that department, I looked at her, I was in my 20s with, these wide eyes, like, how do I do that? What's the end goal? What am I supposed to do? And she said, it doesn't matter what the end goal is. She says, we have a concept of what that is, but it's the little steps, all the steps. We're going to go between one step to second step to third. And our end goal, our destination will probably change. But because we're willing to allow it to happen, it only gets better.
That is solid advice. That was a great mentor. Absolutely. Because you're right. Don't keep looking at the end zone. Just make sure that you keep getting past where you want to be. That's all you need to do. And I think that comes with time, and it also comes with patience for yourself.
Yep. And both back to trust. Trust you're in the right direction.
Absolutely.
If your gut is turning, not your head, but your gut is turning like there's something wrong, listen to it. Listen to it and figure out where you need to shift.
Absolutely. So if you had to limit your LinkedIn profile to 3 words to describe yourself, what would they be?
Today, I think they would be different than they were, years ago, but today they would probably be fierce, limitless, and loyal to a fault.
I love that. Loyal is one that I really like a lot. Loyal is definitely something where, that shows that you have support for yourself and for others too, as well, which is great. Well, thank you so much, Stacey, for being on Her Incredible Mind. We really appreciate you being here, and we appreciate your courage to tell your story.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, everybody. And just go out there and be the best of who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.